Oh, hi guys, I'm doing another video today. You might have guessed already, I am going to be using this big embellished star die from Alton New. I'm going to do one of my favourite things, which is paper piecing. I know some of you think that it's quite fiddly. I like jigsaws, so I like the act of sticking all the little pieces in, but hopefully I've got some tips and tricks to share today that make it a bit less intimidating. This is a large die, and I know some people find those difficult to work with because this is bigger than a standard square card. But again, there are tricks that you can use to get more out of the die than just having it as this one large space. So once I've done the technique, I'm going to show you a few different cards and tags and things that I've used with the die cuts I've made from it. This is a quick sample of the pieced bit that we're going to have work on now, so you can see where we're going with it. And the colours that I've used are from the new inks that have been released in collaboration with Amy Tangerine for Alton New. So it's the Alton New ink formula that you love, but with Amy's signature really bright and vibrant colours. So I'm using 2 of the blues, Berry Cool and Easy Breezy from the Ocean's Dream set, and then 3 of the Summer Sunshine inks, so Sweet Cherry, Tangerine Dream and Lemonade Stand. Okay, let's have a go. So, lift the die cut machine in. Hopefully that's just about in shot. Have to move my... Sorry. Just going to make a bit more screen so you can see that there. So my first tip for using this die is, although it looks perfectly symmetrical, it isn't quite. So in order to make sure I know I'm putting the pieces in the right place, I've just drawn an arrow on my card. So when... Give me a second. When we pop this into the die cut machine, I'm going to follow one of the points when I die cut it, so that I know it's going to come out in the right place. So no, that's not it. So this is going to be underneath my card. So this isn't the best way to do it, but essentially I've got my point on one of the points of the die. The die's underneath the card. With these intricate dies, it's always better to die cut up rather than down, as you get a better cut. So we'll just run this through the machine. I have to be careful not to catch the framework that the iPad's resting on, because then you're going to get a shaky video. So bear with me a second. I'm making this look like harder work than it actually is, but that's because I'm trying not to bash anything with my hand. So we're just going to go backwards and forwards. So that we've given it a couple of passes. Right, now I'm going to be very careful taking this out of the die cut machine, because what I want is for all the pieces to stay in the die. So a couple of them have slipped out, so I'm just going to do a little bit of sticking back in place before we go any further. And this will become apparent why I'm doing this in a moment. You might have to keep an eye. Some pieces have stuck to my top cutting plate, others have just jumped further into the die itself. So as you can see, despite this being a really big and really intricate die, it cuts like butter. I only did 1 pass backwards and forwards in my big shot, and it's cut really cleanly. Okay, so just a couple more pieces to put back in. Sorry about this. So now those are all in, I'm going to remove the edge, and I can see now I've made a bit of a slip up because my die was too close to the edge, and so not all the points have cut perfectly, but it'll be fine for this example. I'm just going to ditch that bit. So now we've got all the pieces still in the die with the die upside down on the die cut machine. So what I'm going to use now is press and seal. Now I know lots of you have asked me on numerous occasions, can I get this in the store? I have tried, but unless I'm going to order a whole shipping container's worth from America, which is quite costly and would take me quite a number of years to sell off, I can't find a way to get it. I got mine on Amazon, so it is available. It's not the cheapest of products, but it's one. I've had my roll for probably 4 or 5 years now, and a little goes a long, long way. If you can't get that, or you don't want to spend that much, then this is another alternative. I buy these rolls of Post-it tape. So it's a roll about 3 inches wide, and it's sticky all over. So I use this for masking and for holding dies in place, which is what we're going to do with the press and seal, but I'll use the press and seal today for speed. So literally the press and seal just looks like cling film, but it's got an ever so slightly, you can hear that, tacky finish to one side. So I'm going to put the tacky side down, and I'm just going to press it onto all the pieces so that they're going to stay in exactly the right place. So that's why I've got my arrow, so I know when the pieces come out that point is going to be at my north. So when I flip it, I know which bits I'm going to be sticking in where. Okay, so once that's all down, you could use a burnishing tool. I haven't brought mine to the video area, so I'll just use the side of this tool. So just make sure that it's all really well pressed down, so that then when you remove your die, mostly all the pieces are stuck. You might need to just release a few as you go around. So that's what I've got my pokey tool for. So just make sure that they're stuck to the back of the press and seal and not left in the die. And another go. Yeah, there's a couple of pieces that haven't come out, but they're very easy to work out where they go and just pop them in place. Tends to be the really tiny pieces that don't want to come out. There we go. And there is one more, which is just there. Okay, so that's all done. And then I'm just going to remove this little bit that I didn't, because I was trying to keep my arrow in the right place, I didn't get my die right in the centre, so we've got a little bit of a missed cut, but it's good enough for demonstration purposes. Okay, so now we've got all the pieces in the right place. We're going to, again, do a little bit of peeling, and again we might need our pokey tool. And just gently, as you go around, keep pressing all the bits down, and they'll stay stuck to the press and seal, or the tape. If you use the tape version, you do exactly the same thing. You'd need a couple of widths to cover this die. But then sorry, this is a bit slow. I will try and speed this up in the video edit if I can work out how to do it so that you're not watching me do all the same things, but you get the idea. So we're gonna end up with all the little pieces in place and the die cut removed. So there you go. That one's moved slightly, stick it back down. So you've got the pattern and the edge separate. So I'm going to keep my edge white, and I'm now just going to get the die cut machine out of the way. Just take that off now. So we don't need that bit anymore. So now essentially I've got all my pieces stuck to the press and seal. And what I'm going to do, because the press and steel is sticky, I'm just going to fold the corners in a little bit so that it doesn't keep sticking to my hands and lifting off. Okay. So then to do the colouring, you've got loads of options now. Now it's down here. You can colour with crayons, with paint, or like I'm going to do, you can ink. If you could use Copic markers, and you could be really specific about colouring each item, each element a different colour. Excuse me, I've still got a bit of a cough, but I'm going to go for a more general rainbow type effect. So I'm going to start with the cherry colour in the centre, and I'm literally just going to dot the colour on. Put that down. Then I'm going to get my next colour, which is the orange, and I'm just going to blob around the circle of that colour. As you can see, these are really vibrant inks, and they blend quite well together too. So once I've got my orange on, I'm just going to intensify the red a little bit in the middle. Then I'm going to take my yellow, so we're just building a rainbow up from the outside, from the centre to the outside. So again, just take my next layer of colour over the top of the orange and build up my yellow circle. Oops, I've just seen one of my little tiny triangles has moved a bit. Let's drag it back in place, back it down, add the yellow. Okay, and then we're going to go in with the teal shades. I guess you all knew I was going to use teal somewhere along the lines. So where you blend this into the yellow, then you're going to get a bit of a green naturally, so you don't need to put the green layer in it. But you can if you want. You can do just all one colour, or any shading that you like. You can do it top to bottom rather than round in a circle. Once you've got all the pieces stuck to the press and seal, then your options are pretty much endless for how you want to colour them. Okay. So that's that. And then we're going to finally go in with the darker of the blue. So this is Easy Breezy, which is a really nice dark teal. And just do the same again. So we're just gonna blend it all the way around. Till we've covered all the white. And again, I'm going to blend these two together a bit more using the paler colour. Once I've got all the dark on the outer, I'll add a bit more of the light to blend the two colours together a bit better. No fancy techniques, it's just dab it, pounce it, dab it, pounce it. That's all you need to do. So that's all the dark colour, and then just to blend them together and cover up any areas of white that I've missed. I'm just going to go back round again with the paler teal. As you can see, you don't have to be particularly delicate or careful because it just all blends together. So a little bit more there, I think. Okay, I'm happy with that. So there you go, that's the colouring done. So what I'm going to do, what I've done with this is I've backed it onto white card. So the easiest way to do that is once you've got your shape, your die cut shape, is to just get some thin white card and use a pencil to trace around the outline of the die cut. If you trace around the die, you're going to get a bigger border than you need. So if you just lightly trace around the actual die cut, you'll get much closer to where you need to be. And then all I will do is just use my scissors and I'll cut just inside the line. It doesn't have to be perfect because the top layer of the die cut will cover it up. So you don't have to be brilliant with scissors, but just follow the line just inside the line as best you can. And cut your shape out. So let me whiz around this fairly quickly. And we can get onto the more exciting stage. This is not perfect. I'm actually looking through a metal bar with my my videoing setup. We've been unable to find a holder that holds the iPad, so I've got a really weird under sink storage shelf that we balance the iPad on. So it's not ideal, but it's the best workaround we can find. So if anybody's got any really great setups for holding an iPad pointing down, not pointing at you, then that would be great. But we can't find any. Okay, so that's my shape cut out. And now I've got another little tip to share. So you might see on this close up, there are a few little areas on the white where I've got some blue smudges. I did find that when I was picking the pieces off the press and seal, because the ink is in between all the areas and particularly around the edge, I was getting colour transfer on my fingers and then it was dirtying up what I was doing. So my next top tip is to just get a Q-tip, spray it with a bit of water, and then just clean up, particularly around the edges where your hand is going to be laying as you pick the pieces up, and then you won't have as much of an issue as I did of getting blue where you don't want it on the next stage. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to take our die cut shape on our base and we're just literally going to apply a few dots of glue. If you wanted to speed this process up, then you could back the whole thing with Stick It, but I found with the Stick It and the press and seal it can come away because obviously the Stick It layer, the back of the Stick It layer is then stuck to the press and seal rather than the items. So again, it's a big enough shape, the areas are big enough that it's not that difficult to apply just a bit of glue around. And so I'm just going around all the edges and then just the main points in the middle, just so that it's all going to stick down. So there we go, that's enough glue. And then we're just going to find which our top point is, which is that one. Pass me a pencil. So then, just as a reminder to myself, I'm going to do that so that I know that that's my north point. And then when we look on the back of here, we can see that's my north point. So as long as I keep that there and that there, then we're never going to mix up the bits. So all you have to do now is add dots of glue. This is the fun bit as far as I'm concerned. And then take your corresponding pieces from the mat and stick them down. And you just work your way down or from the centre out, however you want to do it. Dots of glue and just fill in all your pieces. I did try to see if I could just double lift the press and seal, as I have seen people do on other videos. I found that it just made an unholy mess, and that the press and seal stuck itself together in between all the gaps, and it was really difficult to separate it out again then, and I got in a bit of a mess. So like I said, I enjoy the process of piecing things together. If you don't, then this technique might not be for you, but in having it on the press and seal and making sure you know which points are which, then that does make it a lot easier. I did find you could do little pieces if you work on little areas and just gently tap and lift them. So you could do maybe those 6 pieces in one go if you did want to speed it up. But for me, then this process is sort of an easier way to do it. So I would just carry on doing a couple of little areas at a time, picking them up and popping them in with my tweezers. Or another tip, if you find the tweezers difficult to work with, a Marvy jewel picker will pick up small pieces of card and help you insert them. So that's how you go on filling the whole element up. I'm not going to do that on camera because that'll take ages. But then, as I said, we'll make some cards from what we have left. And I also wanted to say, if you don't want to work on the whole die cut, then it's really easy to, because it's a repeating pattern, you can pick different layers out. So you could start with this point and make like pointed diamonds, or as I've done here, I've started this already. So I'm just going to take the loops, and I'm literally just going to use my scissors and cut around the loop. So I'm snipping off all the bits that I don't want. So snip there, and then when I get to this bit, I'm just going to make it a straight cut so that we're joining back up to that loop, and then round this loop again, and then again just to finish straight there and that loop. So I've taken that element separately out of the middle, so that's a much more manageable piece if you wanted to just use that part to pattern piece, then that would be really easy to do. I've also done a tag just using the die on its own on a craft tag, just with the white card. I think that looks really stunning. It'd be great for Christmas cards because it's got that sort of snowflakey feel as well. But I've just used the Greeteries new Stamp and Cut Sentiments die, which is really classy, to turn that into a birthday tag. And I cut the pattern in half. So with the other half, as you can see, it's quite half because I cut a bit off the edge of this as well. But I've put this onto a square craft card, and I've just added just a few elements, and I've taken some elements out to spill the pattern across the card, so you don't have to fill in the whole of the pattern if you just want to pick elements out. And then again, I've used the same sentiment set and just put some sentiments at an angle, which I think adds a bit of interest to a card as well. But what I'm going to do, pass me my guillotine please, I forgot that bit. What I'm going to do with the one that I've already made, in the classic here's one I made earlier fashion, is I'm going to do both. I'm using craft at the moment. I'm really liking craft with white and bright rainbow colours. I think it's quite a fun combo. So I'm going to do a smaller tag and a card from this one piece. So you can work out how you want your pattern to be. I'm going to go and line up these elements and then have it across the centre of the card there. So all I need to do is pop my finished piece into the die cut and line up the two edges there. And because we've backed it, we can cut straight through and it'll make a nice straight cut. There is a tiny little bit that's come out. Look, there wasn't enough glue in the corner of that one. But that's fixable because we spotted it early enough. So that's in place now. And then all we're going to do, oh, that one's come out as well. Better gluing required, Tara. So stick that in place. And then all I'm going to do now is apply a bit of glue around the edges and then line my straight edge up with the card, and then I'll add a sentiment to finish that off later. So that will be my card, and then I have the tag piece, the other piece left which will fit on the tag. It'll need a bit of punching to get through that hole, but we can sort that out with a crocodile. Or you could even trim a bit more off. Let's do that, that'll make it a bit easier. That's off the bit that we don't want. And then if you've got a birthday, then you've got a card and tag that match. Which I think is a really nice thing to do, or you could even use this to decorate a gift bag. So lots and lots of things that you can do with this one die set. Hope that's given you lots of ideas, and that the idea of piecing lots of little pieces is not too intimidating. As I said, it's a technique I really love. I think it's really a relaxing thing to do, sat in front of the television. It's quite mindless, and you can just get on with it. Okay, thanks very much. Happy crafting. Hi guys, I've just got a quick edit to the last video. I have managed to work out the double press and seal trick. So I thought I'd try and get out just some of these edge pieces to put on a tag. I've actually filled in just the middle part of this, so I'll cut that out as I showed you before and make that an element on a card in a minute. But the way I found before, where I stuck the pieces together and I couldn't get the press and seal apart, was I think because I just stuck one straight on top of the other. So what I've done here on the original base one, for the elements I want to cut out, I've cut really close to the edge of the pieces. And then when you flip it over and you then lift away the original piece of press and seal, if you do it gently and press your fingers down as you go, then hey presto, she says, almost. Then all the pieces I want to use are now on this separate piece, so I can go ahead and glue all of that in one go and stick it in. So that's an even better trick. So if you don't like the paper piecing and putting things in individually, you can just glue them in all in one go, or as I'm going to do now they're in the right place, apart from that one little blue triangle that I'm going to have to turn the right way up. It means you can put the negatives down straight onto a card or a tag without having to have the die cut around it, so that gives you another different look. So I will, I haven't got a tag on the video desk, but I will grab another tag out, and in the blog post that I'll do for this, you'll see all the tags and cards that I've made, so you can see how I can transfer this straight onto a tag without having to have the die cut. Okay, hope that addition was useful. Have a crafting.